Hey there! Welcome back to my channel, Book Demystified. You know what? I just finished reading Dave Ramsey's The Total Money Makeover, and I am absolutely fired up. This book isn't just another financial advice guide sitting on your shelf. This is a complete life transformation blueprint that has helped millions of Americans completely turn their financial lives around. And today, I'm going to break down Dave's proven system that will help you crush your debt and build real wealth no matter where you're starting from. Picture this scenario and tell me if this sounds familiar. You're lying in bed at 3 in the morning, staring at the ceiling with that familiar knot in your stomach. You're thinking about your credit card bills, your student loans, your car payment, maybe your mortgage. You're doing the math in your head, wondering how you're going to make it through another month. Maybe you're making decent money, $50, $60, even $70,000 a year, but somehow you're still living paycheck to paycheck. If this sounds like you, you're not alone. According to recent studies, 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. That includes people making six-figure salaries. But here's what's going to shock you. It's not because they don't make enough money. It's because nobody ever taught them how to handle money properly. Dave Ramsey knows this feeling all too well because he's been there. At age 26, Dave had built a real estate portfolio worth over $4 million. He was living the American dream, big house, fancy cars, everything you could want. But then, disaster struck. The bank called in his loans, and within a few short years, Dave lost everything. He went from millionaire to bankruptcy, and he learned some brutal lessons about money that changed his life forever. But here's the beautiful part of Dave's story. He didn't just recover from his financial disaster. He became stronger than ever. He developed a system that's now helped over 5 million families get out of debt and build real wealth. And the best part? It's not complicated. In fact, it's so simple that a third grader could understand it. Dave calls his system the Total Money Makeover, and it's based on 7 simple steps that he calls the baby steps. But before we dive into those steps, I need to tell you something that might be hard to hear. If you're in debt, if you're struggling financially, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, it's probably not because of your income, it's because of your behavior. Now, I know that might sting a little bit, but hear me out. Dave discovered that personal finance is only 20% knowledge and 80% behavior. You already know you shouldn't spend more than you make. You already know you should save money. You already know you should pay off your debts. The problem isn't that you don't know what to do. The problem is that you're not doing what you know. This is why Dave's approach is so different from other financial experts. He doesn't just give you math formulas and investment strategies. He gives you a complete behavior modification system that addresses the psychological and emotional aspects of money management. Let me share something with you that's going to blow your mind. Dave has counseled over 10,000 families who've gone through his program. The average family that follows his system pays off all their debt except their house in 18 to 24 months. And we're not talking about families making huge salaries. We're talking about regular people making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year. How is this possible? Because Dave's system forces you to change your behavior around money. It makes you confront the habits and attitudes that got you into debt in the first place, and it gives you a clear, step-by-step plan to get out. The foundation of Dave's system is something he calls gazelle intensity. You know how when a gazelle is being chased by a cheetah, it runs faster than it's ever run before? That's the kind of intensity Dave wants you to have about getting out of debt. Not casual effort, not I'll try harder, but total, complete, life-changing intensity. This means you're going to make sacrifices. You're going to do things that might feel uncomfortable. You're going to say no to things you want so you can say yes to things you need. But here's the thing. These sacrifices are temporary. The freedom you'll gain is permanent. Dave tells this incredible story about a couple who came to him with over $100,000 in debt. They had credit cards, car payments, student loans, and a second mortgage. They were making about $60,000 a year and felt completely hopeless. But they decided to follow Dave's system with gazelle intensity. They sold their fancy cars and bought reliable used cars with cash. They moved from their expensive apartment to a smaller, cheaper place. They stopped eating out and started cooking at home. They took on extra jobs. She started babysitting, he started delivering pizzas on weekends. They sold everything they didn't absolutely need. It wasn't easy. There were times when they wanted to quit. There were times when they felt embarrassed about their situation, but they kept following the system, and in 22 months, they had paid off every single penny of their debt. Not only that, but they had also built an emergency fund and started investing for their future. Today, that couple is worth over $1 million. They own their home free and clear, they have no debt, and they're living the life they always dreamed of. But it all started. Baby step 1 is to save $1,000 as fast as possible for your starter emergency fund. I know what you're thinking. Dave, I can barely pay my bills. How am I supposed to save $1,000? But here's the thing. If you can't save $1,000, you'll never be able to get out of debt. The emergency fund isn't there to make you rich. It's there to keep you from going deeper into debt when life happens. And trust me, life will happen. Your car will break down, your kid will get sick, your washing machine will die. If you don't have an emergency fund, you'll just put these expenses on a credit card and dig yourself deeper into debt. Dave wants you to get this $1,000 as fast as possible. Sell stuff, work extra hours, have a garage sale, return things you don't need. One family Dave worked with had a huge garage sale and raised $800 in one weekend. Another guy sold his motorcycle and got the $1,000 immediately. The point is, you need to find this money quickly so you can move on to baby step 2, which is where the real magic happens. Baby step 2 is to pay off all your debt except your house using the debt snowball method. This is probably the most controversial part of Dave's system because it goes against what most financial experts tell you to do. Most experts tell you to pay off your debts in order of interest rate, pay the minimums on everything, and put all your extra money toward the debt with the highest interest rate. This makes mathematical sense, but Dave says it's wrong, because personal finance isn't about math, it's about behavior. Dave's debt snowball method tells you to pay off your debts in order of balance, from smallest to largest. You pay the minimum on all your debts, then put every extra penny toward the smallest debt until it's gone. Then you take that payment and add it to your minimum payment on the next smallest debt, and so on. Why does this work better than the mathematically optimal approach? Because you need quick wins to stay motivated. When you pay off that first debt, even if it's only a $500 credit card, you get a psychological boost that keeps you going. You start to believe that you can actually do this. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have 4 debts: a $500 credit card, a $2,000 car loan, a $5,000 student loan, and a $10,000 credit card. The mathematically optimal approach might tell you to pay off the $10,000 credit card first because it has the highest interest rate. But Dave's approach says pay off the $500 credit card first. When you pay that off in a month or two, you feel amazing. You've eliminated an entire debt. Then you take that payment and add it to your car loan payment. When you pay off the car loan, you feel even better. Now you have even more money to put toward the student loan. By the time you get to that $10,000 credit card, you've built so much momentum and confidence that you attack it with everything you've got. Plus, you now have all the money you were paying on the other debts to throw at it.
This is why Dave calls it the debt snowball. It starts small, but as it rolls downhill, it gets bigger and more powerful. Families who use this method typically pay off all their debt in 18 to 24 months, even when they owe tens of thousands of dollars. But here's the key. You have to stop using credit cards completely. Cut them up, freeze them, hide them from yourself, whatever it takes. You cannot get out of debt while you're still going into debt. This is non-negotiable. Dave has this saying, if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you've always gotten. If you want different results, you have to do things differently. That means no more credit cards, no more financing, no more "I'll pay it back later." From now on, if you can't pay cash for it, you don't buy it. I know this sounds scary. We've been conditioned to think that we need credit cards for emergencies, for building credit, for online purchases. But Dave will tell you that's all nonsense. Rich people don't build wealth by borrowing money. They build wealth by saving money and investing it. Hey, if you're enjoying our free book summaries and want to support what we do, there are a few easy ways to help. You can subscribe to the channel, become a member, or grab the book using our affiliate link in the description. And if you'd like to go a step further, you can also leave a tip via PayPal or UPI. The link's below. Every bit of support helps us keep creating valuable content for you. Baby step 3 is to build your full emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses. Once you've paid off all your debt, except your house, you take that money you were throwing at debt and use it to build a real emergency fund. This isn't just $1,000 anymore. This is 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. So if you spend $4,000 a month, you need $12,000 to $24,000 in your emergency fund. That might sound like a lot, but remember, you're not making debt payments anymore, so you have a lot more money available. Why is this step so important? Because Murphy's Law says that anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and usually at the worst possible time. Your job could be eliminated. You could have a medical emergency. Your house could need major repairs. If you don't have a proper emergency fund, you'll just put these expenses on a credit card and dig yourself deeper into debt. Dave's seen this countless times. People get excited about being debt-free, but then they skip the emergency fund and go straight to investing. Then when an emergency hits, they're right back where they started. The emergency fund gives you peace of mind. It changes your whole relationship with money because you know you can handle whatever life throws at you. You stop living in fear of the next financial emergency because you're prepared for it.
But here's the key. This money has to be easily accessible. You can't put it in stocks or mutual funds or CDs that have penalties for early withdrawal. Dave recommends a simple money market account or high-yield savings account. You're not trying to get rich with this money. You're buying insurance against financial disasters. Once you have your emergency fund in place, you move on to baby step 4, which is where you start building real wealth. Step 4 is to invest 15% of your household income into retirement accounts. Notice that Dave doesn't tell you to start investing until you're completely debt-free and have a full emergency fund. This is the opposite of what most financial experts recommend. They tell you to start investing while you're still paying off debt because of compound interest and employer matches. But Dave's approach makes more sense when you think about it from a behavior standpoint. If you're trying to pay off debt, build an emergency fund, and start investing all at the same time, you're not going to make significant progress on any of them. You'll get frustrated and quit. Dave wants you to focus on one thing at a time with gazelle intensity. When you're paying off debt, that's all you focus on. When you're building your emergency fund, that's all you focus on. When you start investing, you can put all your energy into that. 15% might sound like a lot, but remember, you're not making debt payments anymore. The average American household spends about 30% of their income on debt payments. If you're debt-free, you have plenty of money to invest 15% and still live better than you did when you were in debt. Dave recommends putting this money into tax-advantaged retirement accounts like 401ks and Roth IRAs.
If your employer offers a match on your 401k, you definitely want to take advantage of that. It's free money. But Dave doesn't want you to obsess over complex investment strategies. He recommends simple, diversified mutual funds with good long-term track records. The key is to start investing consistently and let compound interest work its magic. Dave loves to tell the story of Ben and Arthur. Ben starts investing $2,000 a year at age 19 and stops at age 26. He never invests another penny. Arthur starts investing $2,000 a year at age 27 and continues until he's 65. Who has more money at age 65? Ben, who only invested for 8 years, has more money than Arthur, who invested for 39 years. That's the power of compound interest and starting early. But even if you're not 19 anymore, it's never too late to start. A 40-year-old who invests 15% of their income can still retire as a millionaire. The key is to start now and be consistent. Baby step 5 is to start funding your children's college education. Notice that this comes after you're debt-free, have an emergency fund, and are investing for retirement. Dave gets a lot of criticism for this because many parents feel like they should sacrifice their own financial security to pay for their kids' college. But Dave's approach makes perfect sense. You can't help your children if you're broke. If you're not financially secure, you'll end up being a burden on your kids instead of a blessing. The best gift you can give your children is financial stability and the knowledge that you can take care of yourself. That doesn't mean you don't help with college. It means you do it in the right order. Once you're financially secure, you can start saving for your kids' education. Dave recommends education savings accounts, AEAs, and 529 plans, which offer tax advantages for education expenses. But here's what's really important. Dave doesn't believe in going into debt for college, and he doesn't think your kids should either. There are plenty of ways to get a college education without student loans. Community colleges, in-state schools, scholarships and grants, work-study programs, and yes, working while you're in school. Dave often says, broke people with student loans are still broke people. A college degree doesn't guarantee financial success, but student loan debt guarantees financial stress. It's better to go to a less expensive school and graduate debt-free than to go to a fancy school and start your adult life with crushing debt. Baby step 6 is to pay off your home mortgage early. This is another controversial part of Dave's system because many financial experts say you should never pay off your mortgage early. They argue that mortgage rates are low and you can make more money by investing the extra payments. But Dave's approach isn't just about math, it's about freedom. When you own your home free and clear, you have complete financial security. Your housing costs drop to just taxes, insurance, and maintenance. If you lose your job, you don't have to worry about losing your home. Dave recommends making extra payments toward your mortgage principal every month. Even an extra $100 a month can cut years off your mortgage and save you tens of thousands of dollars in interest. Some people get so excited about this step that they throw huge amounts of money at their mortgage and pay it off in just a few years. The psychological benefit of owning your home free and clear is incredible. You sleep better at night knowing that no matter what happens, you have a place to live. You have more options in your career because you don't have to worry about making a big house payment. You can take risks, pursue your dreams, or help others because you have that security. Baby step 7 is to build wealth and give generously. This is where all your hard work pays off. Once you're debt-free, have an emergency fund, are investing for retirement, have funded your kids' college, and own your home free and clear, you can start building serious wealth. At this point, you have incredible financial power. You have no debt payments, your house is paid off, and you're investing a significant portion of your income. You can start investing in real estate, starting a business, or putting money into other investments.
But Dave's system isn't just about accumulating wealth. It's about using that wealth to make a difference. Once you're financially secure, you can be outrageously generous. You can help family members, support causes you believe in, and make a positive impact on the world. Dave often says that the ultimate goal isn't just to have money, it's to have money so you can help others. When you're debt-free and financially secure, you can be the person who helps a family in crisis, who supports a struggling single mom, who funds a scholarship for a deserving student. This is what Dave calls living like no one else so you can live like no one else. In the beginning, you live like no one else by making sacrifices and being gazelle intense about your money. But eventually, you get to live like no one else by having complete financial freedom and the ability to be incredibly generous. Let me tell you about some of the success stories Dave shares in his book. There's a couple who followed the baby steps and went from being $120,000 in debt to having a net worth of over $2 million in just 12 years. There's a single mom who paid off $40,000 in debt on a $35,000 salary in just 3 years. There's a family who was living paycheck to paycheck on a $60,000 income. They followed Dave's system, and now they're millionaires who give away over $50,000 a year to charity. These aren't people who won the lottery or inherited money. These are regular people who decided to change their behavior around money. The beautiful thing about Dave's system is that it works for everyone, regardless of income level. Dave has helped people making $20,000 a year and people making $200,000 a year. The principles are the same: spend less than you make, get out of debt, and invest for the future. But Dave's system is about more than just money. It's about changing your entire mindset around wealth and success. Most Americans have been brainwashed into thinking that debt is normal, that you need credit to survive, that you'll always have car payments and credit card bills. Dave shows you that this is completely false. Debt is not normal. It's a trap that keeps you from building wealth. You don't need credit, you need cash. You don't have to have car payments, you can buy reliable used cars with cash. You don't have to carry credit card balances, you can pay for everything with money you actually have. This mindset shift is incredibly powerful. When you stop thinking like a debtor and start thinking like a wealth builder, everything changes. You start making decisions based on what's best for your financial future, not what's most convenient in the moment. You start asking different questions. Instead of how much is the monthly payment, you ask how much does it cost? Instead of can I afford the payment, you ask is this the best use of my money? Instead of how can I buy this, you ask do I really need this? These might seem like small changes, but they have huge implications for your financial future. When you make decisions based on total cost instead of monthly payments, you make better choices. When you focus on building wealth instead of managing your debt, you get completely different results. Dave also talks about the importance of having a written budget every month. He says a budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Most people have no idea where their money goes. They get paid, they spend money, and somehow it's all gone by the end of the month. But wealthy people are intentional about their money. They have a plan for every dollar before the month begins. They know exactly how much they're going to spend on groceries, entertainment, clothing, and everything else. They don't just hope they'll have money left over, they make sure they do. Dave recommends the zero-based budget, where you assign every dollar a job before you spend it. Your income minus your expenses should equal zero. This doesn't mean you spend every penny, it means you're intentional about every penny. Some dollars are assigned to expenses, some to debt payments, some to savings, and some to investments. The budget is where you make the tough decisions about your priorities. Maybe you want to eat out more, but you also want to pay off your debt faster. The budget forces you to choose. Maybe you want to buy new clothes, but you also want to build your emergency fund. The budget helps you make these decisions consciously instead of just spending impulsively. Dave also emphasizes the importance of having both spouses involved in the budget process. Money fights are one of the leading causes of divorce, but they're usually not really about money. They're about communication and shared values. When both partners work together to create a budget, they're forced to communicate about their priorities and goals. This process can actually strengthen your marriage. When you're both working toward the same financial goals, you become a team instead of adversaries. You support each other through the tough times and celebrate together when you hit your milestones. One of the most powerful aspects of Dave's system is how it addresses the emotional and psychological aspects of money. Most financial advice focuses on the technical aspects, interest rates, investment returns, tax strategies. But Dave understands that money is deeply emotional. For many people, spending money is an emotional coping mechanism. They shop when they're stressed, they eat out when they're tired, they buy things to feel better about themselves. Dave's system forces you to confront these behaviors and develop healthier ways of dealing with emotions. This is why Dave emphasizes the importance of having a why for your financial goals. It's not enough to say, "I want to get out of debt." You need to know why you want to get out of debt. Maybe it's so you can sleep better at night. Maybe it's so you can stay home with your kids. Maybe it's so you can retire early and travel the world.
Your why is what will keep you motivated when the going gets tough. And trust me, there will be tough times. There will be times when you want to give up, when you're tired of living on a budget, when you just want to buy something without thinking about it. But when you have a clear why, you can push through these moments. You can remind yourself of what you're working toward and why it's worth the temporary sacrifices. Dave also talks about the importance of surrounding yourself with people who support your financial goals. If all your friends are spenders who think you're crazy for trying to get out of debt, you're going to have a hard time sticking with the program. This is why Dave recommends finding a community of like-minded people who are also working toward financial freedom. This might be a local Financial Peace University class, an online community, or just a group of friends who share your values. Having people who understand what you're going through and can encourage you along the way makes a huge difference. The social aspect of money is incredibly powerful. We tend to adopt the financial habits of the people around us. If you're around people who think debt is normal, you'll think debt is normal. If you're around people who are building wealth, you'll start building wealth. Dave often says, you become who you hang around. If you want to be wealthy, you need to spend time with people who are wealthy or who are working toward wealth. This doesn't mean you have to abandon your current friends, but it does mean you need to be intentional about the influences in your life. Another key component of Dave's system is the importance of increasing your income. While you're working through the baby steps, you should also be focused on growing your career and increasing your earning potential. This might mean getting additional education, developing new skills, or starting a side business. Dave doesn't believe in the poverty mentality that says you should only focus on cutting expenses. While controlling expenses is important, there's a limit to how much you can cut, but there's no limit to how much you can earn. This is especially important for people who are in lower income situations. If you're making $20,000 a year, you can't cut your way to wealth. You need to find ways to increase your income. This might mean going back to school, learning a trade, or starting a business. Dave shares stories of people who have dramatically increased their incomes by being intentional about their careers. There's a janitor who went back to school and became an engineer. There's a waitress who started a catering business. There's a factory worker who learned computer programming and doubled his income. The key is always be looking for ways to increase your value in the marketplace. What skills do you have? What problems can you solve? How can you serve others in a way that creates value? When you focus on creating value for others, the money will follow. Dave also talks about the importance of having multiple streams of income. Wealthy people don't rely on just one source of income. They have their job, but they also have investments, rental properties, business income, and other sources of money. This doesn't mean you should quit your job and start 5 different businesses. It means you should be strategic about building additional income streams over time. Maybe you start by investing in mutual funds. Then you might buy a rental property. Then you might start a small business. The goal is to eventually have enough passive income that you don't have to work. This is what Dave calls financial independence. It's the point where your investments generate enough income to cover your living expenses. At that point, you work because you want to, not because you have to. This might sound like a pipe dream, but it's more achievable than you might think. Remember, once you're debt-free and own your home free and clear, your living expenses are relatively low. You don't need millions of dollars in investments to generate enough income to cover basic living expenses. Let's say your living expenses are $3,000 a month after you own your home free and clear. That's $36,000 a year. If you can generate a 4% return on your investments, you'd need $900,000 to be financially independent. That's a lot of money, but it's not impossible. And here's the beautiful thing. Once you reach financial independence, you can continue working and building wealth if you want to. Or you can pursue your passions, travel the world, volunteer for causes you care about, or spend more time with your family. Dave's system isn't just about money. It's about freedom. It's about having options. It's about being able to make decisions based on what you want to do, not what you have to do. Throughout the book, Dave emphasizes that his system works only if you work it. You can't just read about the baby steps and expect your financial situation to change. You have to actually implement them. You have to change your behavior. You have to make the tough decisions and stick with them even when it's hard. Dave has a saying, if you will live like no one else, later you can live like no one else. The first part means living differently from the typical American, avoiding debt, living on a budget, making sacrifices. The second part means enjoying the benefits of financial freedom, having options, being generous, sleeping peacefully at night. Most Americans are living for today with no thought for tomorrow. They're buying things they can't afford with money they don't have to impress people they don't like. They're trading their financial future for temporary pleasure. But Dave's system shows you a different way. It shows you how to delay gratification today so you can have true freedom tomorrow. It shows you how to make temporary sacrifices so you can have permanent benefits.
The Total Money Makeover isn't just about getting out of debt. It's about completely transforming your relationship with money. It's about going from being a slave to money to being the master of money. It's about using money as a tool to create the life you want instead of letting money control your life. Dave's 7 baby steps provide a clear roadmap for this transformation. They're simple to understand, but not necessarily easy to implement. They require discipline, sacrifice, and gazelle intensity. But for the millions of people who have followed this system, the results have been life-changing. You don't have to be a financial genius to build wealth. You don't have to have a high income or special advantages. You just have to be willing to do things differently than the typical American. You have to be willing to live like no one else, so you can eventually live like no one else. The choice is yours. You can continue living the way you've always lived and get the results you've always gotten. Or you can decide today to start your Total Money Makeover and create a completely different financial future. Remember, this isn't just about you. It's about your family, your children, and your legacy. When you become debt-free and build wealth, you're not just changing your own life. You're changing your family tree. You're breaking the cycle of financial struggle and creating a new legacy of financial wisdom and success. Your children will grow up seeing a different model of how to handle money. They'll learn that debt isn't normal, that you don't need credit to survive, and that building wealth is possible for anyone who's willing to make the right choices. This is the real power of Dave's system. It's not just about the money. It's about the transformation it creates in your life and the lives of the people you love. When you take control of your money, you take control of your life. And that's a gift that keeps giving for generations to come. So what are you waiting for? Your Total Money Makeover starts today. Take that first step, save that first $1,000, and begin your journey to financial freedom. Your future self will thank you for the decision you make right now.